up the card art and the turnarounds here. Pon, I'll go to you first. Who is Gilgamesh, and kind of where is he fitting in Smite?
Yeah, so Gilgamesh, I mean, many people have probably read his epic, his story, but he's a king, he's a leader, and he's also an adventurer. He is starts off as this very kind of self-righteous guy who's only invested in himself, and through encounters with his basically wrestling partner, Enkidu, his friend, he learns humility, and through his adventuring, he starts to become friends and learn more about what it means to be a ruler. And upon Enkidu's death, he actually learns that mortality is a thing that he actually has to be a little bit worried about, and it humbles him. And he starts off from this kind of self-righteous king to this very fine and powerful ruler who cares for his people. And so we're kind of in the middle of that journey with him in the story of Smite. But yeah, he's just one of those like central figures in any, whenever you're talking about like heroes' journeys or old epics, he is like the character to go to. He's like one of the first epics that we had like written down. So big historical figure. Super excited to have Gilgamesh in Smite.
Definitely. And he isn't the first king to join the battleground. Ajax, talk to me a little bit about how we approached the theme and the visuals for Gilgamesh compared to, some of the other kings that we've introduced in Smite.
Well, Gilgamesh is special to us because he's our first god from a new region, right? The Mesopotamian Babylonian region, the modern day Middle East, which is really interesting. And there's a lot of great historical imagery. Specifically, this civilization was known for carvings in stone tablets, both imagery as well as written language, which is where the Epic of Gilgamesh comes from. When you say something is epic, it's because of the Epic of Gilgamesh. Like that was the first epic, right? Which is just really exciting to have that level of history and story into Smite, which I know Pon went a little bit into his story, but then also now we have a completely new culture in Smite, which we're always happy to have. And we just wanted to make sure we use that reference and that location to influence his design, his jewelry, his decoration, and his style. And I think he just looks amazing.
He definitely looks amazing, but I am ready to see how he dukes it out on the battleground. I believe we are ready to go in game. And as is tradition, I will give Pon the reins to just do what it do and show us what Gilgamesh does really quick.
Okay, let's go.
Oh my goodness, this is so dope.
Really, it's the drop kick, right? That's too good.
It's the drop kick is so satisfying. Oh my goodness. That is great. Oh my goodness. Well, now that we've kind of given everybody just a quick glimpse at what Gilgamesh can do, they might notice that he's got a round shield just kind of flashing in his inventory. Let's talk about the passive Epic of Gilgamesh, Pon. How did he get that round shield?
Yeah, so that's the Epic of Gilgamesh. You're going to actually adventure as Gilgamesh. You're going to have different things you have to do around the map. So the big thing here is at level 5, you'll get your first quest. These quests can be completed at any time throughout the game, but they have different requirements. The first quest is visit location on the map. So you can see when I spawned here, it was here. This is mostly just because we're in like testing and I'm level 20 and I'm switch classing all the time. But what it'll do is when you hit level 5, it'll pick a location on the enemy side of the map that is close to kind of where you were when you hit level 5. So if you're in solo lane, it's going to be kind of around the enemy speed buff or the enemy harpies. If you're in dual lane as a support, it's going to be more around like the purple area. But it's going to encourage you to go actually adventure into the enemy side of the base to find a location. If you successfully get there and walk over that beacon that was on the ground, you get a tier 1 item. So that's the reward for any of the quests. And at level 10, you get a second quest, which is the first one was to adventure. The second quest is to conquer. You have to defeat half the enemy team rounded up in a single team fight. So if a big team fight erupts and 3 of the enemy team members die, whether you got the kill or assist, you will actually complete that quest and you'll get another reward for that, which is another random tier 1 item. So you can definitely, if you're willing to risk and try and like create these situations where you can get the quest done, you can get quite a big reward for it.
Definitely, this is super dope and something that we haven't done in Smite before. Pon, talk to me. What if I have a full inventory whenever I complete a quest? What happens?
So the general rough value of a starter item is around 450 to 500 gold if you were just like sell it. So maybe you get an item, you're like, I'd rather finish my tier 3 than use this. You'd sell it for about 500. That's what we're going to give you if you have a full inventory. So that's the alternate reward if we can't put an item in your inventory.
Awesome. Sounds great. All my MMO fans out there should get this really easy. Get the quest, complete the quest, get the loot, for sure. Gilgamesh getting some immediate value at level 5 and 10 from these quests that are involved with this passive. And kind of the lore of Gilgamesh is he's got all these artifacts, so the passive definitely plays off of that. He's collecting the artifacts across the battleground, but he's also got his sun-forged scimitar as one of the artifacts that he's bringing along with him, his iconic weapon. Talk to me about ability 1.
Yeah, so Gilgamesh, when he adventures, he finds all these artifacts throughout the story. And so this is an artifact that we've kind of imagined from the weaponry of the time, where he has this weapon that's forged in the sun. And as such, it ignites with the heat of the sun. So you can see here, you have these smoldering embers on the sword towards the bottom. When you activate your 1, they're going to ignite and erupt into fire. And you can see his whole weapon is now basically this giant torch. Enemies who are caught in this ignition take damage and are slowed. And Gilgamesh now deals damage to targets, some extra bonus damage for hitting targets, equal to his maximum health. So right now I believe it's equal to about 3.5% of his maximum health. So the more health you build, the more effective this actually becomes. And you can see here that as I keep attacking this Odin, the buff is still on me, it's staying on me. It actually extends in duration the more successful you are. So if you activate this and can keep attacking your target, you get to keep this buff for up to 12 seconds. So you can actually have this pretty much indefinitely, and you can chain it into the one going off cooldown and like activating again and getting it all refreshed.
That's sick. And I know since we're talking about basic attacks, I'm not sure if Pon or AJ, I believe we've got some new tech that we added in for these basic attacks to help out.
Yeah, so you can see as I'm moving around. Yeah, go ahead, so Paul. The basic attacks, a lot of our basic attacks have these like kind of forward animations, but to make sure that the characters can move in 8 directions and run, we sometimes have to do these 8-way splits, essentially. And we lose a lot of that forward momentum, but the art team did a really good job here where they've done new tech here to keep some of that forward animation as you're doing these 8-way movements. So you'll notice this as you're playing, these attacks just feel super smooth and feel super responsive. And that's due to the art being able to convey that forward momentum while still allowing full 8-way control. And it's just really fun to play with.
There's a lot of back-end tech art, very complex changes, and it's a subtle impact that you might feel, or if you're someone who's really interested in animations, you might notice it more than others. But we're really happy with how it's improved our gods' animations, and we're going to be using it on future gods. So we're just really proud of our team for that, even if maybe the lesser eye wouldn't spot it.
For sure, yeah. But yeah, these basics definitely look satisfying, but I have a feeling that Gilgamesh has an ability that's going to feel even more satisfying to land. Let's talk about Dropkick.
Yeah, Dropkick. This is the one that everyone has like played Gilgamesh and been like, nope, that was just cool. What I did there was just very cool. So Dropkick is what you'd expect. It's a dropkick. You dropkick an area in front of you, and you send them flying. If they collide with a god or a wall, they'll stun. So you can see here, let me send cooldown back on. If I send this Odin into that other Odin, they both get stunned for the duration. So you can try and actually use this to hit multiple targets and stun multiple targets. Or you can just send them flying back to your team. You can send them into a wall to follow up with your 1. There's a lot of stuff that you can do here. And it also, you can see here that if I just don't hold W, it has built-in forward momentum. So not only does this just make the weight of the ability feel really high, but like it lets you follow up. So here, I actually am in better position now to follow up off that stun than I would be otherwise. So it just helps the flow of the ability.
Yeah, I definitely when you were showing us the the kit earlier, this drop kick was definitely my favorite, and I love how we've just incorporated it into everything that we're doing. The trailer has a sick drop kick. I am so ready to hit people with it on the battleground. But let's move along to Heroes Advance, which is his 3 and going to be a movement ability for Gilgamesh.
Yep, so Heroes Advance is the main movement ability for Gilgamesh. He targets a ground location, and you can see it's quite a big area. It actually hits this whole area as well. But when you land, you have this field that gets created. Now, for allies outside of it, they'll see this as like a beacon of light. And as they run towards it, so you can see if I run out of here and start running towards it, I'll get some movement speed for running towards it. So this is your way as the warrior to jump into the middle of the enemy team and be like, hey, teammates, we're fighting here right now. Everyone gets a boosted movement speed to get there. And then while they're inside of it, they get some of that movement speed, but they also get lifesteal equal to 10% plus a certain percentage of Gilgamesh's highest protection. So you can see a theme here. He wants to build health, he wants to build protection, he wants to be the frontline bruiser that's very hard to take down. And for doing so, you get to provide some extra damage with your 1, as well as some extra lifesteal to your teammates with the aura from the theme.
All right, that is Heroes Advance. Let's go ahead and talk about the ultimate ability for Gilgamesh, Winds of Shamash.
So Shamash is someone who actually helps Gilgamesh in one of his main battles with Humbaba, a demon. He calls upon Shamash to bind the demon with his winds, and so he's calling down the winds again here. It's a ranged deployable circle that creates essentially a ring of wind. Targets who are inside of it take initial damage and are slowed. They take some wind damage over time, and then you can see at the end there, if they're still in it, the winds kind of turn into these threads that end up binding them, rooting and crippling them if they stayed inside of it, causing them to take extra damage. But that's not quite all. So let's see if I can get this with Bot's Orbit. Oh, no, they don't want to behave. Unfortunate. This might be easier, actually, if I just spawn We're going to go over to the other lane, and I'm going to spawn an enemy Gilgamesh. Also, his voice pack is great.
Yeah, I know.
I like how we took these abilities, you know, the drop kick and the way we did the kind of King of the Ring ultimate, and we even brought that into some of his animation. He has sort of a professional wrestler vibe you'll get from a few of his animations that helps with his kind of confidence and bravado as a king. But then he's very driven and very, you know, intentional and wise at the same time, which is just, I think, worked out really well.
So here you can see this wind wall. The outer walls actually slow you incredibly heavily. This is a 70% slow at maximum rank. And if Gilgamesh attacks you while you're inside that area, so it's basically kind of like a ring, but it's a soft ring. It doesn't actually fully lock your movement. If Gilgamesh attacks you while you're inside that ring, the slow area of it, the ring will actually knock you back towards the center. And you can obviously combine this with your drop kick to send them back at you. So you get to bounce them off the edge of the ring. So Gilgamesh's whole game plan really is to cast this on a team and then use his attacks and damaging abilities to keep them inside that ring for as long as he can to make sure that they get bound by the winds of Shamash.
Definitely. I'm loving the vibes here. Like AJ was saying, the professional wrestler, like leaning towards those themes a little bit. Gilgamesh being, you know, astute but aggressive. He's just all about the business. He is here to fight you, you know, really straightforward. Talk to me a little bit about, you know, what we've been seeing in playtest in terms of playstyle and where Gilgamesh is, you know, kind of landing in Conquest.
Yeah, so when it comes to playing him in Conquest, we've been playing him we've tried support, we've tried solo, and we've tried jungle. Early on, his damage was very high, so he was doing really well in the jungle, but as we've tuned balance for him, he's really found his home in the solo lane. He's very effective at boxing out opponents in lane, really fighting for lane control, and just kind of trying to pressure out opponents with the drop kick, trying to send them back into the tower or send them away from the wave. The one, because of the way the cooldown works, where when you activate it, it goes on cooldown immediately, so as you're using the stim, you can be getting the cooldown available for it again to use it. It makes you a very effective boxer if they try and actually trade with you. So I would expect to see him mostly in the solo lane, maybe a little bit of flex into the jungle role, but his support also has high potential because doing this in lane is pretty devastating.
Oh my goodness, yeah, I can only imagine. Oh, that is
lots of different things to play with here.
We love the basic attack focus from him. We have, you know, that's something that a warrior hasn't brought new to the game in a little while. It does give him some flex potential as well. Potentially he could be played in the jungle, but I think he does really well in the solo lane. If you use that leap, which has a really big hit area, you can poke your enemy god and then group up the minions really well with a 3-1 combo to just clear the lane really effectively, and then you're getting a lot of swings in, so you always have a lot of uptime on that scimitar. So he plays great in both roles, honestly. And he's just a very fun god who does, like, you know, who just gets up in the mix. Really, that's what warriors are really designed to do, and Gilgamesh does that very well.
Nice. Well, he will definitely be jumping in head first in 8.4 to challenge Tiamat during the Rising Storm update on Conquest. Well, that just about does it for the kit, but of course we want to show off, you know, all the recolors and take a listen to the voice pack for Gilgamesh that we've got going on. I believe the first recolor that we want to show off is the standard recolor for Gilgamesh, and it is going to be Crimson King, and I love the card art here. It is super dope. What do you think, AJ?
I love it, of course. You know, we had a lot of really cool colors for Gilgamesh. We had like a lot of blues and purples, and then here we have kind of this like red magenta kind of color, which just, it feels very royal, and it fits the king well.
Definitely. I believe we're going to be able to have a turnaround here for this recolor as well, as we get ready for it.
Are we going to be going back into the Conquest map at any point, Isaiah?
I didn't plan on it, but is there anything interesting that you wanted to show off?
There's one more thing on the Conquest map that I forgot to show during the Conquest update section.
Let's see if production
if Pawn is still in the match and he could switch to a god like Cthulhu for me. Could you do that, Pawn?
We will see.
Go ahead and speed yourself out to the jungle anywhere. Go to the jungle.
There we go.
All right, so we have another new tech art feature along with Gilgamesh's animation smoothing. We also have new foliage, invisible foliage tech. So if you activate your ultimate,
forgot to bring this up.
The trees will disappear around you, and as you get closer to the trees that are going to be in your ultimate's range, they will start to dissolve away. So no longer will players be able to hide in fear under the trees while you chase them down. This works off of the god's height. So any god that raises into a height above the trees will give them a vision radius, and if the higher they go, the larger it goes. So you can't really notice this as much with Thor because you can't move at the same time, but when you go up in the air as Thor, all of the trees within your targeting area will be invisible, and you'll be able to see the ground and be able to dunk down onto them. Gods like Thanatos and also can also appreciate it. We're going to also even continue looking to tweak the fine-tune this to maybe even affect gods at lower heights, like Cthulhu just walking around, right? But that's not currently in this update. In this update, it's only like the ultimate and above height. But yeah, that's a really big feature. I know players have been really asking for it since 8.1.
Most definitely.
You know, I think that global alts are really, really strong, and you know, visibility and being able to hide behind rocks and things should be a part of mechanic of the game. But the trees were maybe just pushing that into the frustration territory and not the balance territory. So we went ahead and added this feature. So big shout outs to our tech art team, you know, along with that Gilgamesh animation tech, they also came up with this one, and it's just beautiful. So
I know. Definitely shout outs to the team, and just another way, you know, we're incorporating that community feedback in to the Conquest map, and it's just changing, you know, visually and on the tech side as well, which is awesome. But I got word from production that we do have the Crimson King turnaround ready to show off, so we'll be able to see that super cool model here for the standard recolor. There we go. This is Crimson King Gilgamesh. Let's go ahead and take a listen to the voice pack before we start talking about the other recolors and the mastery skins.
A fresh land ready for a strong adventurer. I wonder what I shall find here.
That's dope. And Pawn, you hit the nail right on the head. That voice pack is sick. I love the tie into the passive and, you know, him adventuring around and finding these artifacts and relics and gaining some new items. The next recolor that we have that we want to talk about is actually the Season Pass 2021 recolor. We've got Ascended Gilgamesh going to be coming up here. So if you've picked up that Season Pass 2021, you'll be able to unlock this limited recolor as soon as Gilgamesh goes live on April 20th. The card art is dope. I love Tiamat in the background. He's got a nice slash that he's hit here as well. And this is the turnaround. This is the more purple vibe, right, AJ?
There you go. Historically the color of royalty in lots of other cultures. So made a good sense as a recolor for him. But
Definitely.
I think his default is the most historical. But then we explored a few others on the recolors, and then his card art for the mastery I'm really big fan of, because obviously the color choice for mastery, we don't have a lot of flexibility on the color choice for mastery, but we did get a little creative with the card art, which I really love.
Definitely, he's definitely flexing.
That's my favorite card art.
Nice. I know, right? Let's go ahead and take a look at the card art for the mastery skin. Watch the throne, everybody.
Gosh.
He is just here chilling. That is sick.
Look, he looks like he wants to get out and adventure so bad. He's like, why did I have to come to this meeting?
That's right? Story of my life. Zoom calls, Google Hangouts. I definitely feel you, Gilgamesh.
There's every moment where He's like, hey, maybe we shouldn't go fight Humbaba, and Gilgamesh is like, no, I want to fight. He's gonna go.
Yeah.
He doesn't have much patience early on.
So this is the golden, and then the legendary, the black and gold, my favorite. I gotta say it every update show. This one looks sick, and I believe we'll have the diamond here in just a second to look at. I'm loving it. Oh, I love the treatment on the weapon there for the diamond skin as well. All right, guys. Well, that is Gilgamesh. That is the king of Uruk. Any final words on Gilgamesh before we close out the show?
I mean, it was super fun to work on this character. It's such a historical figure, being able to explore what he could do in Smite, making this kind of lean, straightforward warrior kit was super satisfying. And so I can't wait for you guys to play him on the PTS, which hopefully will be at some point soon.
Yes,
Friday.
PTS on Friday.
PTS on Friday. And New Conquest on Friday.